Okay, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to talk you through the do's and don'ts of asking for a pay rise. Hello, my name is David and I am a director of a surveying and architectural firm based in Jersey and Guernsey. So you might be wondering why I'm making this video in 2023. Well, it's kind of obvious. Inflation and cost of living is going through the roof and a lot of people are going to their employer and asking for a pay rise. What I've experienced is I've had friends and colleagues come to me and ask for some advice on how to ask for a pay rise, and I've actually been quite surprised at some people's strategies. It's surprising how many people will focus it around themselves, mortgages going up, childcare is going up. However, these kind of things do not benefit a company, and that is what you want to concentrate on if you're going to ask your boss for a pay rise. So here are the do's and don'ts. Hope you enjoy it. Stick around to the end because I'm going to give you the golden nugget piece of advice that's going to really help you lock down a pay rise, and I'm even going to tell you what to do if you can't get a salary increase right now. Don't number one is actually based on something I've heard from a variety of other people, and it is this. I have a friend who gets paid at X company and he gets paid X amount more than me. We have the same qualifications and we've had the same amount of professional experience. This is a really bad justification because essentially it's saying to your boss, I'm jealous of my friend. Envy is a horrible human trait. I think everyone sort of has it at some point in their lives, but you definitely do not want to show your employer that you're jealous of somebody else, and you don't want your salary negotiations to be based on envy. So don't do it. Moving on to don't number two. Don't number two is going to be looking at the company's books and thinking, the company's making more money, so I should get paid more. If you go to your employer and say, I want a pay rise based on the company making more money, it's going to show that you have a real lack of understanding about how a company runs. For example, the company might be paying off debt from the COVID-19 era. They might be saving up for new infrastructure, hardware, software, and you don't want your employer to know that you don't know about how a company runs. It's unbelievably naive, especially nowadays when you can read books like that for £10. So don't become that person. Okay, so some real simple and common don'ts. But before we move on to the do's, I'm just going to touch on a few things. Firstly, gratitude. If you're lucky enough to be watching this video on your phone or your computer, and if you have a job, you are unbelievably lucky, because some people in the world, like millions of people in the world, don't have employment. Some people don't even get to have water or free meals a day. So just consider that before you start jumping up and down about not getting a salary increase in 2023. Another consideration is jumping ship. And what I mean by this is if you have one of your competitors come to you and say, look, I'll give you an extra couple of grand a year to work for me. What you really want to understand is, what does that couple of grand look like over 10 years? Are you going to get salary increases in the second, third and fourth and fifth year? Or are they just going to give you the extra money to jump ship now, and you might not see another pay rise for like another 5 years? That's a really bad place to be in. The employer that you might be in at the moment might not be able to give you a pay rise for 2 to 3 years, but they might be going to a much better place in the 5 to 10 year period. So that's something to consider. Not enough people do it. I think a lot of people look at the short term, but what you really do want to factor in is the medium to long term benefits as well. Okay, so let's move on to the do's. Do number one is going to be actually asking for what you are worth. The last thing you want to do is go into a salary negotiation and your boss say yes straight away because you know you have not asked for enough. What you want to do is go in here, have your boss sort of say this, and you sort of meet in the middle. That's how any negotiation works, generally speaking. How do you find out what you're worth? Well, firstly, go on recruitment agencies, look on the internet, and actually sort of work out what you want to get paid. They are going to negotiate, so don't go in where you want to go. Go in a little bit higher, they're going to come down here, you're going to meet in the middle. That's how it's going to work. The last thing you want to do is to leave that meeting resenting your negotiation strategy. So go in high, they'll come low, and you'll meet in the middle. Okay, so do number two is going to be easing your boss's pain. Okay, quickly jumping screen here. First take, I wasn't such a fan of. So, do number two is going to be split into two sections, and it's going to be about your employer. So the first section about this is going to be making sure you give your employer sufficient notice that you want to have a salary meeting. If you just spring it upon them, they wouldn't have had time to review the budgets to make sure they can potentially give you a pay rise. And if you go into a meeting that they don't know what you want to have a meeting about, and if it's about salary, they'll probably just say no, or they'll reschedule in the future. So make sure you make it clear what the meeting is about. Okay, the second part is going to be easing your boss's pain. Now, this is a little bit debatable because employers generally have 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 years into this game. They're not going to be losing any sleep over these kind of decisions. But what I'm trying to get at is you want to go to these meetings with some empathy, just generally some emotional intelligence. Make it clear that you know that the money has to come from somewhere companies aren't, generally speaking, bottomless pits of funding, so there is going to be some pain, some impact somewhere. Now, the easiest way to ease your boss's pain and to guarantee that pay rise is to do the next point really, really, really well. Let's go back to my lounge so I can show you how. Okay, so do number 3 is going to be decoupling yourself from being just an employee to becoming someone who is actually an asset. What I recommend is at your pay rise negotiation, actually go with an action plan about how you're going to make a difference in the first year of having that additional salary. At the end of the day, your employer wants to know that if they're going to give you X amount extra, you are going to give them something back in return. What you can do is have a plan about how you're going to improve your professional development. Maybe you've got a plan about how you're going to improve your network. You could also have a plan about how you're going to improve other people in the office and potentially bring in new business. Or you can do them all. But what I'm trying to get across is that you want to be an asset and you want to base your negotiations on justifications that are rational. You don't want to say, yeah, look, I need a salary increase because cost of living is going through the roof. My mortgage is becoming more expensive. Childcare is becoming more expensive. At the end of the day, all employers know this. If you go there with these justifications, they will think, okay, it's all about you. What's the benefit of the firm? In addition, it's not just the employees who are suffering from the cost of living, inflation, and all this kind of stuff. Businesses are suffering too. Differentiate yourself from someone who is just an employee to someone they don't actually want to lose. If you can show you have a plan about how you're going to improve the company, how you're going to improve yourself, you're showing that you're in it for the long term. Okay, so now we've looked at some real simple do's and don'ts on how to secure a pay rise. A last piece of advice is to have something in your back pocket to fall back on if you don't secure a salary increase. These can be flexible working, working from home, professional development, opportunities to build a network, and maybe some different projects within the firm. Your employer might not be able to pay you more money, but they might be able to offer you some training. They might be able to offer you the option to work from home. They might be able to offer you the option to go and do some networking events, meet more clients for lunch, all that kind of stuff. So if you do not get exactly what you want in terms of a salary increase, there are other things to negotiate on. You might even want to go down to 4-day weeks. I don't know. Okay, well that's pretty much it. This brings us to the end of the video. If you like this content, please give me a like and a subscribe. If you think there's anything I've missed, please comment below. And I will see you in the next one.